Hello everybody, MegaZardX here, back at it again to give you another very exciting video. And for today's video, this is one I've been wanting to do for quite some time. Nintendo's outreach within the Nintendo Switch era though, because I feel like they've been doing so many different things in terms of their gaming side, not only just with software and hardware sales, but even with their outreach in terms of like how much they've been trying to push the digital envelope, all the features and stuff they provide within the Nintendo Switch online ecosystem and stuff, like the retail experience, as well as like them outreaching into movies and stuff and anything else that's a little bit pop culture things. And it's like, it just made me think and wonder, how many different things can you do with this Nintendo account that you're able to do now within the Nintendo Switch era that you weren't actually able to do in the past, like with the Wii U system and and way before that though. So in today's video, I just want to go through and just talk about Nintendo's outreach and how much stuff they managed to do, because once you start going through it and start checklining everything you're able to do with this Nintendo account and what they've been, expanding the envelope beyond just gaming, it's added up quite some bit though. So we might as well go ahead and jump up in this video though. So if you hadn't already done so, make sure you're going to hit that like button, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into this video. Nintendo has been doing a lot of outreach during the Nintendo Switch era, a whole lot more so than they have in times past with like the Wii U era and before, especially with the lead up to the Nintendo Switch successor that should be fully unveiled in the year of 2025. We even had Furukawa coming out in the statement and stuff saying how all your past games on the Nintendo Switch that is going to be fully backwards compatible with the Nintendo Switch 2. Like that might be our only little bit of news that we'll have for 2024 before 2025 when it gets fully unveiled though. But I think Furukawa set himself up beautifully with everything he's done within the Switch's era in terms of outreach to be able to set up this Nintendo Switch 2 beautifully. So I just want to go through and just see how many different things you can do within this with a Nintendo Switch account in general though, because obviously if you have an account, you're able to log into a Nintendo Switch and you're able to go through and buy a bunch of different games and sync that up within your account, especially within the digital ecosystem, because now that we know that you can carry that over to the Nintendo Switch 2, it's just a great feeling to have. It's something that we hadn't been able to even have in times past, just moving from like the Wii to the Wii U or anything like that before. Like Nintendo really kind of got behind trying to push the online envelope and such though. So yeah, obviously you have that. That's like the basic of all things that you're able to do. However, Nintendo Switch Online, it's hard to imagine that this thing only used to offer NES games back in the day though, but it offers so much more when you look at it within today's environment though, because now you're actually able to play games online, which yes, you were able to do that free in times past though, but everybody, Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, they're all behind, playing online and you have to pay though. It just happens to be a thing though. But at least if you have the basic tier, you're able to play NES games, which that's like well over 100 games at this point, as well as Super Nintendo as well. And you're actually able to play Game Boy games. All of that by having a Nintendo account though. Then in terms of expansion pass games, you had the Nintendo 64, the Game Boy Advance, and you had the Sega Genesis. So that's a lot of different games you're actually able to play between all those different systems. You're also able to have access to the Save Data Cloud. That's one thing I wish that they didn't have to have tied to a Nintendo account, but it's just one benefit I guess you have if you happen to have it, just in case you happen to move from like one Switch to the other, or if something happens to your Nintendo Switch and you happen to lose it. Hey, this is kind of safety assured that you have all your saved data backed up in the cloud. Then obviously you had the Nintendo Switch Online app. Yes, I know that might not be one of the greatest strengths of the Nintendo Switch Online, but it is good for certain games in particular. Like if you go back and look at like Splatoon 2 and 3, like where I think there's some apps that do it quite well versus some other ones though. But if you're trying to use it in terms of voice chatting, then yeah, there might be some better options out there though, but I digress though. And then obviously you have DLC inclusions such as like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Animal Crossing New Horizons Happy Home Paradise, Splatoon 2 Octo Expansion. If you have Splatoon 2 and you hadn't played Octo Expansion, you're doing yourself a disservice though. So yeah, you have all of those different DLCs that you're actually able to go through and do as well though. Then on top of all of that, you also have some special offers, and the special offers, hey, you got some cool stuff up in here because you're actually able to have Nintendo Switch game vouchers where you're able to buy those for $50 a pop. and essentially be able to save yourself $20 from buying like two $60 games at MSRP. If you get the 2 game vouchers for $100, you're saving yourself quite a bit, especially for game titles such as like Tears of the Kingdom, which they're selling that game for $70. You're having to get that digitally via the game voucher stuff. You're saving yourself $20 on that game alone, along with $10 on another thing though. So that's really nice, because they did take it away for us from the US for a period of time, but they did manage to bring it back. And in other areas such as like Europe and Japan, I think they always had access to it since the moment of inclusion. Then you also have things such as like Nintendo Alarm Mode. Now this is where things get a little bit weird and a little bit freaky though, but also a little bit experimental, because Nintendo, once again in Nintendo fashion, pulling some stuff out of left field and by releasing a silly old alarm clock that you're able to buy. Now granted, this will be coming out to other retailers and stuff a little later on in 2025, but if you want to have that slight little bit of early access period, then hey, you're actually able to go through, as long as you have a Nintendo account, be able to buy this on Nintendo's website and be able to actually bring in be able to bring this home and be able to experiment with it. I actually have this alarm clock right now, and it's actually a nice little interesting piece of technology though. Definitely one to kind of go down in the history books. And then also on top of all of this, you have classic controllers that you're able to play on the Nintendo Switch, such as the NES controllers, the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo 64 controller, and then also Sega Genesis controller. You're actually able to buy all of those if you happen to be a Nintendo Switch Online member, obviously meaning you have to have a Nintendo Switch account. Then on top of all of this stuff, you also are able to download exclusive games such as Tetris 99 and F-Zero 99. Some really great, phenomenal experiences that are just included within your NSO membership, even if you're in the basic tier as well though. And then remember those times where you're actually able to go through and people were clamoring about those major updates in terms of like when the Switch was getting a new firmware update where it hit like major numbers, milestones, like a 2.0, version 3.0, version 4.0, and the list kind of goes on and on and on. Like everybody was always clamoring about those updates because it meant you got to add more icons and stuff. And now if you have a Nintendo Switch Online account, you're actually able to go through and just be able to add in a whole bunch of different icons and stuff that happen to usually update from like week to week and sometimes month to month though, but it's pretty regular intervals. They're added in games for like Mario Odyssey, Animal Crossing, Metroid stuff, even some classic stuff with some of those old games like Donkey Kong Country or something like that, or A Link to the Past. You'll get some things for even old retro style games as like your added icons. So that's just the gift that kind of keeps on giving time and time again though. So yeah, that's like all of the stuff and the inclusions that you're able to do within just having a NSO account. But even just having a Nintendo account in general, you're actually able to go up into like Nintendo's website and be able to go through and purchase some things online, whether it's just physical games, merchandise, plushes and stuff. I happen to do all of that stuff all by having a Nintendo account as well though, and I feel like that's a little bit more streamlined than versus like times past where it was getting a little bit tricky. You might have just had to buy something off of like some random retailer such as like Amazon or something like that. So yeah, you're able to do a lot of stuff just via that. And then also we do have free goodies that you're able to get if you happen to build up platinum points for certain things like physical rewards. There's digital stuff you're able to do with wallpapers and stuff like that as well, but you also manage to have good physical rewards and stuff. Like I'm just looking over, I had like Nintendo World Championship NES hat and stuff like that. Remember the 3D All-Stars anniversary and stuff where they were doing like those certain pins if you completed certain challenges like that. You can get some nice cool collectible goodies, totes, etc. and stuff just by having a Nintendo account and by playing certain things, whether it be, you know, complete missions on the console or also mobile gaming, because you're also able to do things with mobile gaming as well, as long as you have a Nintendo account. That runs from everything from like Nintendo Run to, remember, like they had Mario Kart on smartphones and stuff like that. Then also you have Fire Emblem Heroes, which makes a ton of money and stuff. And then you also have the Pokemon apps where it's just like, hey, if you have a Nintendo account, you can back up your information like that though. Even though that might be more so on the Pokemon side though, I mean, that is a little option for like Pokemon TCG Pocket, which they just recently dropped. Things such as like Pokemon Home and stuff, using that software with that, and especially with Pokemon Go, because you're able to capture Pokemon and stuff with Pokemon Go, and then, you know, try to send that up to Pokemon Home, and then by extension, then you can have that all brought into your like your Pokemon Sword and Shield or like Scarlet and Violet games and stuff like that, all by having a Nintendo account. That makes all of that possible right there. So that's some really great stuff right there. And then along with you know, a few other handful of different mobile apps as well though. And now recently, they added one more big major benefit to NSO members, along with, just besides this having early access to that alarm clock though, because you're actually able to have Nintendo Music. This is where they start pushing the envelope even further. And that was just a recent announcement within the past few weeks, because now you're actually able to download that app, have it on smartphone devices, not necessarily for consoles. It would be nice to have it as an additional though, but I love how they prioritize the app on phone though. But it's basically like Nintendo's version of Spotify with a bunch of different classic Nintendo games and stuff. And this is everything from, obviously the biggest library right now is Nintendo Switch games, but it goes all the way back to the NES era, including some version exclusive stuff within like the Japanese Famicom disc-based system for like a game such as Metroid, and comparison to like the NES version of Metroid as well though. So having a Nintendo account, and specifically with NSO, you're able to go through and listen to a whole bunch of soundtracks, including my personal favorite, the final boss theme from Yoshi's Island, man. That thing just slaps, man. Like, oh shoot. Especially also along with all the Splatoon music, it just makes perfect sense with all those different albums and stuff from like Off the Hook and the Squid Sisters and Deep Cut and stuff. That's just some great stuff right there though. So yeah, there's a lot of great things you can do with the Nintendo account, but I am not done just yet though, because you also had some crazy announcements such as like Nintendo Museum and stuff, where you're actually able to go through and visit in Japan. I hope they actually expand beyond this and actually get to showcase this mess off in other regions outside of Japan. But as it stands now, they're only focused on Japan though. But you're actually able to go through and see a rich, diverse history of like Nintendo back when they were making those Hanafuda cars at the very beginning to all the way where they're currently at right now, dropping out Nintendo Switch games and stuff. And by having a Nintendo account, I think you had to have that in order to actually place a reservation to actually kind of get your foot inside that door, at least for the time being, while they have like mass waves of people going through and visiting this museum and stuff. And I know they had like checkpoints and stuff like that where you're able to do and get like some extra little additive benefits and perks and stuff like that. But hey, if you want to get the most bang out of your buck, hey, being able to have a Nintendo account just to experience this museum, hey, that's some good stuff right there. And then on top of it, while we're talking about just places where you can go to and visit, you also have those like store fronts such as like Nintendo NYC, and then they also have some Nintendo stores in Japan, and I think like maybe a couple places in Europe as well though, that you're actually able to go in and experience and just buy certain things like that. Because like I went there, I believe it wasn't this summer, it was like the last summer from last year. I went up to Nintendo NYC for the first time ever, and it's actually pretty cool how you're able to buy certain merchandise and stuff. And usually with gold points, which you can use those to be able to have discounts and stuff on Nintendo games digitally, you're actually able to accumulate gold points by buying just standard merchandise and outside of video games at that store. And as long as you sign into your Nintendo account at the register and stuff, hey, that's extra gold points back in your pocket though. So it's like, oh, what the heck? They don't even do that for the standard website, but they'll do that for those in-person retailers such as this, and probably with the Japan and the European locations as well though. So yeah, you can do really cool things just by having a Nintendo account for there though. And they also have one more big major thing, the Nintendo theme parks, because ever since like the end of 2020 onward though, they've been pushing the theme parks heavily. Obviously there's a Nintendo World over there in Japan where it originally started up, then they introduced the Hollywood one. Now they're about to bring in the focus on the location that's going to be in Universal Orlando though. And that they also have some other places around the world such as like Beijing, as well as like Singapore, where they're also going to try to do this as well with though. I've been waiting for a long time to do it with Universal though, but you're also able to do things with the Nintendo account there as well. And then also you have like those weird funky armbands and stuff that essentially act as amiibo and stuff like that. So yeah, you're even able to do cool things with that just by having a Nintendo account as well. Now this last thing I wanted to talk about is the Nintendo Moves. While necessarily you don't have to have like a Nintendo account to get any kind of special benefits for that, it's just the fact that Nintendo's broadened their experience beyond just gaming in general, like with some of these other examples I mentioned before this though, because we already had that first Mario movie that managed to come out. We do have another Mario movie set to come out within a couple years from now. And in Nintendo's latest financial briefings, they said that the Legend of Zelda movie that was announced by Miyamoto is set to come out in the year of 22 something. it should come out before 2030 is what I'm basically saying though. So overall, that is some great stuff right there, even just being able to expand the IP and stuff like that. So that's one thing that Nintendo really does shine upon, is they're not just only focused about the games, it's just about an overall interactive experience with Nintendo in general though. Just being able to use it not just within your gaming, but use it from your day-to-day. Just kind of keep your mind kind of thinking about nice, pleasant Nintendo-like experiences. Simple as the stuff from like Nintendo Music, to where you're able to interact with this stuff in real time with like Nintendo World and stuff like that though. So honestly, when you sit back and look at everything that Nintendo has to offer over here, this is a lot of stuff that you're able to do with that one single Nintendo account. And go back and imagine during the Wii U eras, how much could a Nintendo account do for you back then? I know that it was a little bit different with like Nintendo Network ID though, but like it was almost just as simple as buying digital games, and none of those digital games were able to carry over into the next system for the Nintendo Switch that was codenamed NX at the time, because of the going from the CD based stuff to the cartridge based stuff. So overall, there's a lot of stuff that you can do with this Nintendo account. So overall, that is a ton of things you're able to do with a Nintendo account now in comparison to what you were able to do in times past. Obviously, I added in that little extra bit of bonus with the Nintendo movies and stuff like that, but that's just all the things that Nintendo has been doing within the Nintendo Switch era, just to be able to push the envelope and give a little bit more merit of like why it's so important, or all the cool additional benefits you will get from having a Nintendo account if you're able to use it to its max capability with the NSO services and everything else it's offering in between though. But y'all gotta let me know down in the comment section down below what all do you think about everything that I talked about here in this video, and everything that you're able to do with a basic Nintendo account. It's kind of crazy, and I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about everything that's offered that Nintendo is actually able to put out there as of this point, because it's this crazy thing back in the Wii U era that all the things you were able to do is basically just buy a game digitally, and it doesn't even carry over to like the Nintendo Switch and stuff like that though. Honestly, some really crazy stuff, and a big aha moment that I was just sitting down just thinking about just here recently though. So if you really like this video, make sure to go and hit that like button, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. So remember y'all, until we're a video I make next, see y'all.